Welcome on in. This is the RotoWire Fantasy Football Podcast, NFL Week 6 preview. I'm your host, John McKechnie. That is Mario Puig. A lot to get to. Just a couple teams on bye this week with the Vikings and the Texans. So close to a full slate of games here. We're going to get things rocking on Thursday night. We got an NFC Beast clash between the Giants and the Philadelphia Eagles. This one in MetLife. We got the Giants checking in as 7 or 7.5 point underdogs to the Eagles. The Eagles coming off of a loss against the Broncos at home last weekend, kind of a sloppy game from the Eagles. We'll get to that in a second. And then, of course, the Giants, uh, as is often the case with kind of like surprising rookie quarterback performances, week 2 was a bit of a reality setting in for the Giants. Dart didn't look quite as sharp against the Saints. The Saints got their first win. Spencer Rattler got his first win in 10 tries. But on the Eagles side, I don't mean to rant here necessarily, but last year was such a perfect storm. Like the coordinator stuff, like it worked great for them. They cleaned house after 2023. They bring in Fangio, they bring in Kellen Moore, and they maximized, I think, exactly what they had on hand. And what they had on hand was obviously excellent. Like that roster was stacked, the defense completely stacked, the offensive line able to bully people, and the skill position guys great as well. And Jalen Hurts was playing super well. Now he's gone, and it seems like Kevin Petula, the offensive coordinator, is getting some flack because it feels like the Eagles, and I blame Nick Sirianni for this more. It feels like they're button mashing for them to go out last week and to just throw as many. I think Saquon Barkley had fewer than 10 carries last week. If
It's
memory
6.
serves. 6? That's not enough. You're
That's
the
insane.
Eagles. You're the Eagles.
John,
You have Saquon Barkley.
I did not notice it was that bad. I can't believe I haven't already gotten as mad as you are about this. But now I'm mad too. I'm
Okay, all right,
steaming.
awesome. I've drawn you in. You're picking up what I'm putting down. We've said for years that Hurts is at his best when you kind of have him in his comfort zone. And you're not having him throw it a million times, and throwing it a million times against the Broncos of all teams is bananas. I mean, I just can't really understand it. So it feels like the Eagles, they're still really good in everything, but I feel like they have a little bit. Like, have you ever seen the movie It Follows, the horror movie?
No.
Okay, basically, like this spirit would inhabit somebody, and then they would make contact with somebody else, and then they would get the spirit. I feel like the Chiefs gave the Eagles that, because the Chiefs last year remind me a lot of the Eagles this year, in the sense that yes, they're winning these games, but it's always frustrating. It's never as pretty as it should probably look. And I think the Eagles definitely are embodying that thus far. So this is a very long way of saying I like the Giants with the points tonight, but please give us your intel on this one.
It's not an easy call, and the Eagles, safe to say, running it 6 times, throwing it 38 times. That's just trying to lose, basically. And I don't know who to blame, like Sirianni or this Petullo or whatever, but it does seem safe to say Petullo is much more of a Brian Johnson type at best, not a Steichen, not a Kellen Moore type. You just can't end up in that script against any defense, It's like you have to use a guy like Barkley more than that. You have to give Hurts fewer pass attempts than that. The ratio between the two is not nearly right. They also have to. It's like Hurts was trying not to run as much too, as if he was kind of leaning into as if the mission of the game was not to win, but rather like we have to get stats for AJ Brown and Devontae Smith.
Right.
I understand that general that the impetus, the need in general for that, but you have to work at it the other way around. You have to find the winning formula, and like incidentally, organically, that should entail getting Brown and Smith involved in some way. But if you're just forcing it to the extent that it must have become clear to the Broncos too, it's like, oh, they're just going to try to get the ball to AJ Brown. Apparently, let's let's scheme in response to that rather than the possibility of Barkley getting 20 carries, which we were more afraid of anyway. And you get nothing for it either anyway as the Eagles, because when you're trying to force it when it's not occurring organically, like the defense is not going to defend the field honestly either. Like they're going to just kind of cheat toward it's like, well, if they're going to tell us that they're going to throw it to Brown, let's make that our priority to stop then. We don't even have to pay it. It's not even an issue of ignoring Barkley if he's only getting 6 carries, but they could have further just been like, yeah, let's ignore the run. They're clearly trying to get it to AJ Brown. So what they need to do instead is take what the defense is giving them, and usually if the defense is not giving you something easily, the way that you as the Eagles can take it is with Barkley in a dominant run game. So they have to go there first. If AJ Brown's not open, it's like, just you got to deal with it, run until that's open, and meanwhile tell Jalen Hurts to hit a broadside of a bar once in a while. Like I saw at least one time where Brown was wide open, like for an easy, like untouched touchdown, and Hurts just kind of overthrew it. And one miss is not everything, but this has been going on for it's been going on for 6 weeks.
Yeah. So like we're kind of at this, like I found last week's offensive philosophy very alarming for the Eagles, in the sense that, are they just going to keep doing these wild swings as far as their offensive philosophy goes, and see if something sticks? Like that now they're treading in our waters, where we're just like, I'm being a dumb guy here. Like, hey, Saquon used to play for the Giants. They didn't run it enough last week. Like, are they going to like overcook it with Saquon tonight, and we go back to like having that, basically worthless passing game?
Well, I think the good news about the running game version of that is if you're from a dominant position, especially, you can force the run better than you can force the pass, because at least, especially when the running back Saquon Barkley, but like even otherwise, poor teams have beaten better opponents by making the game come down to fewer plays, and by not just shortening the game by running the ball a lot, but when you run the ball enough and you get enough hits on the defense, the front seven especially, it's like you're going to tenderize them a bit and slow down the pass rush, and you're also going to, there's a good chance like a linebacker will be a step late to some spot in the fourth quarter that he got to early in the first. So if the Eagles go do a stripped down offense with Saquon just kind of getting fed, the opposite of last week's offense, in other words, I think that would all work better than trying to force it through the air, and I think it would ultimately be enough for the Eagles to win 7 points, 7.5. Not sure. Maybe not. I think they need AJ Brown to get going to get that number. And it's like, on the one hand, even if Hurts sucks, AJ Brown is a player who is too inevitable to have this magnitude of struggles indefinitely. And like, if only one more time, if only this one game, he'll eventually have a good game again. It has to happen, even if it's for borderline no reason. So I think I'll take the Eagles to cover, but it's acknowledging that they have to fundamentally look different than they have all year.
Yeah, I'm just kind of going on this confluence of a lot of points. It's at the Giants, and it's Thursday night. Like, I think that's enough for me to steer me towards the Giants, but like there's certainly good cases to be made for the Eagles kind of waking up, because we know that they're a sleeping giant. It's very much.
It could
like
also be the
Chiefs
Giants struggling, because like Jackson Dart with no Malik Neighbors, it's like how can we expect him to do well in general, let alone against
and no Slayton either.
No Slayton. So yeah, that's not really like a fair situation for a rookie like Dart to be left with.
And then last, like, probably burning fantasy question for our listeners would be like, with Tyron Tracy being off the injury report, like, do you still feel comfortable starting Cam Scatterby this week as like a flex option? Or
yeah, I don't know if there's anything to carry over. The Eagles' run defense wasn't exactly great last week, although you also have to point out J.K. Dobbins was awesome last week. It's so funny that I didn't notice the Saquon thing because I watched the whole game live. But yeah, J.K. Dobbins carried that team, and he was really grinding through. Cam Scatterby can do a lot of the same things, a lot of the same ways Dobbins was beating the Eagles last week. Scatterby can do that. But yeah, I'm not getting my hopes up for a big rushing yardage total. The sledding will probably be tough in general, but what gets you over those issues as a Scatterby investor is he could catch 5 or 6 passes in any game. And I know some people are going to say, well, don't you remember Tyrone Tracy was a receiver in college? Don't care. He's not as good of a pass catcher as Scatterby.
No, he's not, and Scatterboo like much better at like yards after the catch. Like
Better
he's one.
player, just really good player.
Yes, like he's one of those guys where you know, to a much lesser magnitude to AJ Brown, but like the inevitability, like you get Scatterboo in a check down situation where he's just kind of one on one in the open field with a safety or an undersized linebacker, like he's going to run that guy over and like pick up a
He's a
first
really
down.
tough tackle one-on-one, even in a phone booth.
Yeah, he's
Maybe especially in a phone booth.
like a boulder covered in nails or something. He's yeah, I can't imagine that'd be fun to tackle him. So I still feel good about him this week. We have him ranked as a low end RB2 at RB 23. So right behind Alvin Kamara and Tony Pollard is our Scatterboo ranking for this week. Why don't we hop on over to the Sunday morning game? We've got the Jets and the Broncos. Jets are 7.5 point dogs in this one. I'm sure the Broncos will be somewhat popular in Survivor this week, but when it's a game in Europe, I just kind of stay away for Survivor purposes. Circling back, this Jets defense is atrocious. Like it's one of those things where, you know, I draft in best ball formats where you have to draft a defense. Like I was definitely like feeling good about taking the Jets there as one of my defenses. And now like I play in, you know, some casual leagues with some friends, and the Jets are freely available on the waiver wire. So this defense, I think opens the door nicely for the Broncos here. The Broncos have a 25.5 point implied team total. The Jets, you know, offensively, it wasn't like the end result was about what you wanted. If it, you know, it was a very popular game in DFS last week with them playing against the Cowboys, and they ultimately kind of got their stats for the most
Garbage
part,
time.
but it was a lot of garbage time. So, your thoughts here?
Well, that is part of the draw of an asset like Garrett Wilson the whole way. And I thought Breece Hall too. It should have been easier for Breece Hall to be productive all year this year, but in the case of Wilson, especially, it's like the Jets are so bereft of alternatives that it's like, yeah, man, maybe it comes down to garbage time, but when garbage time happens, it will also happen for Wilson. Like the ball cannot go. The only way the ball doesn't go to Wilson is if the ball is not thrown. So
Mm-hmm.
Wilson, you know, it raises his floor so much. You'd like it to also mean more for his ceiling. It hasn't quite yet. He's been very consistent, but I think, you know, there's 30-point upside with a guy like Wilson, and it hasn't materialized yet this year, and it's certainly hard to see how it could happen in this game of all games unless Patrick Surtain gets jet lag or something. But maybe he will. I don't know. Like you said, those European games can be weird, and jet lag does suck. So if you're on the wrong side of that, maybe that is a way you can lose a matchup that you might otherwise win. Short of that, though, I don't know how the Jets are supposed to do anything. It's like even when Garrett Wilson has a good game, you can't budget Justin Fields to so many as like 210 yards as a passer. Like, where is it? Is Alan Lazard going to have 80 yards? Is Mason Taylor going to have 100 yards? If they don't, you can't get to 250 with Fields. It's just off the table. And when it's just off the table like that, you have to, as the Jets, be prepared to make the serious offsetting, you know, effort to run the ball. You can't just sort of say like, well, you know, we'll run pretty well. It's like, no, you have to understand we need like 180 yards a game now. And if you don't hit that mark, you may as well not show up. And I don't know how much they understood that specific level of urgency about it. I don't know if they were delusional to the extent that they were like, yeah, Josh Reynolds could probably get us like 900 yards. Like if that's something they believed, then that's alarming for a lot of reasons. And I don't think Aaron Glenn is going to make it. I like Aaron Glenn a lot. I think at the very least he's still a good defensive coordinator, but he has gone along with too many bad ideas that I think other people sold him, both like the Braylon Allen thing and the idea of like going into the year with this roster. Like there's no way Aaron Glenn was telling this. The GM, by the way, I can't remember his name. He is a young GM. He's like 38 or something. And he was not hired before. He was not the one who hired Glenn. Like they were picked
Mm-hmm.
separately and brought in separately. So they're not even really tied together. Their interests aren't tied together. I think it's pretty clear that the GM was taking a long-term view in tanking this year and is going to blame all the dysfunction that comes with tanking on Aaron Glenn. But yeah, going into the year with those receivers, it's like, what do you even expect to have? And then also the few dollars that they do spend is on Brandon Stevens. Like, what are you even supposed to be good at as a GM? Where's one thing you have not completely botched as a GM? Anyway, the Jets just don't have a serious roster, in my opinion, and not to say that they can't cover, but I think it would be because of like jet lag reasons. Because it's either that or Breece Hall runs for like 200 yards, and they don't even give him enough chances to do something like that.
No, I don't think so. I just checked in on the Defensive Player of the Year odds to see where old Nick Bonito was checking in. Plus 550 right now to win it. Aiden Hutchinson, the leader in the clubhouse, but Bonito is going. I think like and they were kind of talking about it ad nauseum during the game on Sunday against the Eagles, but it's like this guy needs to be like a national name. Like he's rocking out.
Yeah, and he's also, it's in hindsight, it's always funny when this happens, but he was one of those guys who sort of draft Twitter and sort of like draft casuals were projecting as like a fringe first round pick type, because he also had an awesome combine. He was really productive at Oklahoma, and it was like, well, why the hell wouldn't he be good in the NFL? And for some reason, the NFL let him fall to almost the third round. And sometimes when that happens, as the draft Twitter types were like, oh, I guess we're stupid and we suck. But actually, it turns out the NFL is stupid and they suck because we were right. Benito should have been like a first round pick.
I agree. And then lastly, on the Broncos offense, I got asked this question in a roundabout way yesterday. I was doing a radio spot in Phoenix, and they were asking me about Cortland Sutton. And the way I put it was sort of like this Broncos offense is sort of a nightmare for redraft managers out there, because Sutton and Dobbins are like the two constants. And then it just feels like Sean Payton spins the wheel as to whether it's going to be Marvin Mims, usually not, Troy Franklin, Evan Ingram as like the next guys that do anything for fantasy. But it feels I feel more lost in trying to predict their like target rotation on week to week than like almost any other offense.
Yeah, like you said, it usually is Sutton that you can bank on. I feel like when they go, how to say this, I feel like the numbers split between Troy Franklin and Evan Ingram in particular, them both primarily running from the slot, but very different types of targets from the slot. I think that's where the biggest week to week tilting back and forth can happen. It sucks, and it makes it harder to guess the way everything else splits up when they also give like 25 snaps a game to Trent Sherfield, and Adam Troutman shows up at inopportune times as well. So the Franklin, Ingram, Mims part, I don't think anything is really going to give, and maybe the week to week game planning by Payton changes based on the matchup. Maybe it's just random. Maybe Payton doesn't care about matchups as much as he cares about just making certain things appear on tape so that he can kind of play off it the next game or at some later point in time. I don't know on what basis he makes these decisions, but it certainly feels like the more serious a situation gets, the more they lean on Sutton in particular. Mm-hmm. So like Kenyon Mitchell was following Sutton in that game, and Kenyon Mitchell actually played really well in my opinion. And yet Sutton is so good. He still caught 8 of 10 targets for 99 yards. So this game, I guess I would not consider a serious one. And if Sauce Gardner is shadowing Sutton, I think that makes this game more likely one where at least one of Franklin or Ingram has a pretty big game, or I guess Mims, but I don't know. Payton seems to hate Mims, so I don't really believe that last one has as good of a chance as the first two.
Sad, because I do love me some Marvin Mims. I'd love to
He's
see
good.
Him
they got to
get it somewhere.
Mims needs to start pretending that he doesn't know how to be a good returner. I think that might be part of it. Like he's too good of a returner, and Payton's doing that thing where they're like, "Oh, he's a special teams guy." It's like, well, then boycott special teams and remind them like you're also their second best receiver, pretty obviously.
I got the return yips, coach. All right, before we move on over to the Rams Ravens game, we've got a message from our friends over at Circa. It's football season, and the best place to catch the games is at Circa Resort and Casino in downtown Las Vegas, featuring the best pool in history, Stadium Swim. Stadium Swim has 3 levels, 6 pools, and a 143-foot diagonal screen. Whether it's Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, or Monday, Stadium Swim is America's favorite place to watch football. No matter the size of your group, Stadium Swim is the place for you. From owner suites to cabanas, day beds to stadium booths, there are seating choices for everyone. And the best part, Stadium Swim is open 365 days a year. With temperature controlled pools, it's a great place to catch the games all season long. Stadium Swim, located at Circa Resort and Casino in downtown Las Vegas. Book today at circalasvegas.com. We also get a message from our friends over at Blue Wire. And we're on to the next thing. The Ravens, what's left of them, are playing host to the Los Angeles Rams this weekend. The Rams, 7.5-point favorites. The Rams coming off of a disappointing loss in their own right to the 49ers on Thursday Night Football in week 5. So a little bit of extended rest for them as they get ready to head across the country. They will also be practicing at Camden Yards before they head over to Europe for their game next week. But ultimately, it is not looking particularly rosy when it comes to this Ravens offensive personnel. I think we're going to see a lot similar to last week. Lamar was not practicing as of Wednesday. I think with the bye week on the other side of this, the next time we'll see him is week 8 against the Bears. So therefore, more Cooper Rush. I know that Zay Flowers popped up on the injury report with a bit of a shoulder. Ronnie Stanley returned. Kyle Hamilton returned. They got rid of Odafe Owe. They brought in Alohi Gilman. I don't know. I think the Rams crush them. It's just a long preamble.
Yeah. And a lot of the issues that Cooper Rush had against the Texans, I think apply with the matchup to the Rams too. Not because the personnel is all that similar. It's not, but through multiple defensive coordinators now, Sean McVay has, in my opinion, shown a pretty clear direction from his oversight position that we want the corners in the secondary to generally play this way or that way. Like between Staley, was it some Shula or something right now? I can't remember who the current one was, and the one between them.
Didn't Raheem Morris go stop in there?
Yeah, that sounds right. And the scheme the whole time didn't change that much. And specifically what I'm talking about is the corners do this kind of they try to do this money ball thing at corner, basically, where it's not even trying to cover the receivers that much. It's more like you put the corners at a cushion point that's around the point that they suspect the receiver might get the target on the play. So they sort of just try to cheat and like sit on a spot where they're betting, and they otherwise try to kind of stay in a pouncing position. Excuse me. But it's something to me that resembles like almost like a zone defense that's just always trying to keep the receiver in front of them rather than like trying to jam them at the line and turn and run with them downfield. So in any case, this approach of a defense is specifically the kind that Cooper Rush is worst against, in my opinion, because Cooper Rush's pop gun arm can't make the defense turn and run. Those corners that are cheating and just pouncing on everything underneath, you can't hurt them with a quarterback like Cooper Rush, because the way you hurt those corners is burning them downfield, especially on like a double move or something. And if you try that stuff with Cooper Rush, it's like, man, you might as well have like a backup tight end throw that ball. It's not reliable. It might get there, but that receiver better be wide open. Otherwise it probably, gets picked off because it's going to take so friggin' long to get there. So I have no faith in Cooper Rush being able to hurt a defense like this. The only way the Ravens can hurt this defense is in the ground game, and that I have more hope for than I did last week. Like, I could imagine Derrick Henry kind of going over the Rams, even if they try to stop him. And to be fair to Cooper Rush, if the Rams do try to sell out too much to stop Derrick Henry, then even Cooper Rush, he's not going to miss like a total wide open, runaway shot as long as it's not too far away anyway. So I think the Rams need to be careful, but if the Rams do get Henry to stumble early, get that 2-score lead, then you're right back into the Houston game.
Yeah, and it just felt like, I've had lingering concerns about the interior of this offensive line all season. And again, like when you have Cooper Rush back there instead of Lamar Jackson, it's such a bigger dead giveaway what they're going to do if Derrick Henry's on the field. And therefore, like, it becomes fish in a barrel for the defense. And I know Derrick Henry's like hard to tackle it and whatnot, but like if you just are out resourcing the Ravens up front, like I think you're going to be able to, have some success. So I hate to say this, but like in a game like this, especially where I'm kind of expecting the Rams to get up early and stay up, like I think there's at least a case to be made for benching Derrick Henry this week in your season longs.
I probably wouldn't do that, but I guess if somebody just totally killed the rest of their draft and they're so strong that they can consider such things, he's not an infallible play, certainly unrelated and not actionable in any way. But I cannot believe DeAndre Hopkins isn't playing more. I can't believe he's not raising hell about it. I can't believe Lamar Jackson wasn't raising hell about it. DeAndre Hopkins is so much better than Rashad Bateman that he might be, in my opinion, about as good as Zay Flowers. Like, I know it's totally different kind of player, but like every time they go to Hopkins, he just slams it, and it's like, just throw him the ball, put him on the field. You clearly do not have something better to do, so just do this.
It's obviously like a frustratingly small sample, but he's going at like 15 yards a target with like a 90% catch rate right now. Like
3.3 yards per route, and he also has 2 defensive pass interferences drawn. So he's averaging something like 4 yards per route run, which would be something like top 5 in the league.
Yeah. And they're just like, you know what? I think we got to just get him 12 snaps. I was encouraged looking at the game book that Tylan Wallace's
true
snap count came way down. So there is maybe
they ran a 2 tight end offense, John, though. Did you notice that? Like, Cooper Rush needs so much cover that they had to run a 2 tight end offense even when they were losing big the whole game. That's not a good sign.
No, and like likely looked really rusty. I thought he had a couple of procedure penalties. I expect him to get going once Lamar Jackson gets back, but until then, I think we're looking at a very dubious offensive projection for this Ravens team in this week in particular. I feel like the Rams are pretty much stratified as far as what to expect here, and this Ravens defense is really, really bad. So I think that these two teams played when Baltimore was really beleaguered at the end of 2021. I think the game ends up looking kind of similar to that.
Yeah, the Ravens need Derrick Henry to run for at least 175 yards. So that's the one narrow route they have.
Yep. So that's given the last month or so, basically since the Bills game, it's been harder to expect that necessarily. You can't rule it out, but you can't expect it either necessarily. Over under in that game, 44.5, by the way. Let's get to a more fantasy friendly game. We got the Cowboys and the Panthers. This one will be good for fantasy. I think people will load up on this one for DFS purposes. I think people mostly want to know, firstly, about this this Panthers running back situation. Rico Dowdle gets the call last week and dominates. I mean, like that's going to go down as one of the best waiver wire pickups of the whole season just for that game alone. Like, he probably won you your week if you were able to scoop him and avoid guys like DeMercado, Michael Carter, and so on and so forth. Like, that was massive performance from him against the Dolphins. Doesn't feel like Chuba is going to be ready to go just yet, but we're not totally sure. He's like working on a side field.
It sounded bad.
Yeah.
I mean, even a week ago, it sounded like to me like Canales was sort of hinting like, yeah, it might be more like a month, than a week.
So that sets up well for him. I think even though the Cowboys are a defense that you want to throw on, the Panthers can't really like do that. So I feel like we're going to see Dowdle City once again.
Yeah, Trevor Etienne should play a little bit, but the Panthers, if only because of the amount of cover Bryce Young needs, the Panthers are always committed to a game plan that features probably among the league leading number of power concepts in any given week. So Etienne, more of like a passing down guy, drawback probably, and unless they fall behind and go into a hurry up script, Etienne might sort of just not play a whole lot because the Panthers will need to try to establish that power run game again, as they will have to every week. And they might have some amount of success with it. Like, I don't have a particularly strong sense of how passable or not the Dallas run defense might turn out to be this year, but I think I'd give the advantage there to the Panthers. So, not to jinx Dowdle, but while still acknowledging, even if the Cowboys matchup is favorable, there's no way it's as favorable as the Dolphins. Like, the Dolphins run defense is just not very good. It's not even like supposed to ostensibly be any good. So it won't be that easy. But I guess if Dowdle's not an RB1 this week, you'd be disappointed for the same reason that you would be if in Hubbard's place if he were playing.
Yeah, so I think this sets up great for him. On the other side, I don't think that we're going to have CeeDee Lamb out there for the Cowboys once again. I think it's coming soon. Hope anyone that drafted him is able to kind of hang on through these weeks without CeeDee Lamb. But Dak Prescott is playing it. I think a lot of people have said this, like, some of the best football of his career right now. George Pickens, obviously a guy that you're happy if you drafted him, and I think he makes sense for DFS this week in this particular game. But I do want to get your thoughts on Ryan Flanoy.
Yeah, it's pretty weird. It is also frustrating because I really thought the game that he had against the Jets was going to be had by Jalen Tolbert instead, and that Florida just took it instead, even though Tolbert played more snaps. So it's tough on the one hand because Jalen Tolbert has been pretty much crap in the NFL, and yet it's been to a degree that surprised me given how otherwise good he was in college. Like, he was not a slam dunk prospect by any means, but there's been receivers in the NFL who have had, more sustained success than Tolbert as worse prospects than he was. So I don't want to just take it as a given that like Tolbert continues to be invisible. Even if Flournoy is good, it's like Tolbert should be able to do more than he has. But on the other, it's like, A, Tolbert has been as bad as he has been, and B, Flournoy is a really tough prospect. He's like a fringe prospect. He was like overage, played at a very low level of competition, such that it was like his otherwise good production in college. I couldn't really tell whether it was worth anything because it was just against guys who were nowhere near NFL talents. But in cases where the production is dubious and where the prospect is overaged, it definitely helps if they're really good athlete. And Flournoy tested among the best of the receivers at the combine last year with 4.44 40, 39.5-inch vertical, 132-inch broad jump. So it's one of those things like his production in college might have been because he was overage and because he was playing at a low level of competition. But it's as long as he tests as well as he has athletically, then that's also a plausible explanation for how he produced in college. So weirder things have happened. If Flournoy, I do think Flournoy earned more playing time with a game like last week. Like, even if it's kind of like, well, Tolbert did a good job. It was just kind of, the matchups were there for Flournoy in this weird fluky way. Still, like, you got to give him more opportunities, and specifically because he's so explosive. So yeah, he maybe he's like the next Cowboys Patrick Creighton case where it's like this super long shot prospect from a tiny school, but he sticks around as like their wide receiver 3 or something.
Patrick Creighton. That's a great pull there. We're not quite on Miles Austin trajectory, but Creighton.
No. Miles Austin, the funny thing about him was he was actually a conventionally good prospect in hindsight because he was actually really, really big, really athletic, really productive at Monmouth, but they're just like, well, it's friggin' Monmouth. We can't take this guy seriously. And then he was just really good for Dallas.
Yeah, exactly. So I think like initially with these two teams squaring off is like going to be hard to take a side. You got the Cowboys on the road as 3-point favorites, but I don't know. Maybe this is misguided just based on them tying the Packers and kind of blowing out the Jets last week. The Jets, but like I feel like there might be something brewing where this Cowboys team might actually be solid this year, and I do think the Panthers stink even with their comeback win against the Dolphins. So I'm going Cowboys.
Dolphins are really bad.
Yes.
Sorry. Yeah, I'll take Dallas too. McMillan could get going and Dowdle could have a good game here, but Dallas should be able to match. And, Javonte Williams too is having an awesome season. I was worried about that offensive line. I'm still worried about that offensive line, but if Javonte can play that well, like Tyler Smith's practicing at least, so that's a good sign. Guyton, I don't know if he maybe gets back, but if they get back just one of Smith or Guyton and somehow both, then you're pretty much cooking again. Like it's like the you would expect the Cowboys to run block well with those two back.
Why they always draft offensive linemen named Tyler, I'm not sure, but it seems to work out when they're all the Tylers are available.
Yeah, and
But I
Tyler
digress.
Smith is a total beast. So if he's back, that's a big deal.
Absolutely. Getting on, we got the Cardinals and the Colts. Colts 7-point favorites at home. Kyler Murray did not practice on Wednesday, so still kind of waiting to see what's up with that. I think he's dealing with a foot issue right now. Their backup is Jacoby Brissett, so frankly, I don't think that there's like a huge drop off if Kyler has to miss this game. Then you'd get the Jacoby Brissett revenge game factor as well, of course. But beyond that, I was already kind of circling the Colts in Survivor this week. If Kyler's
Yeah.
not out there, I feel like it's going to be really hard to stay off of them.
Yeah, the Colts are going to win. I was probably wrong to think that it would fall apart in the second half this year for the Colts. Like I thought they would fall apart in the second half, and Steichen would probably get fired while Ballard, uh, you know, got away with another one. But
Mhm.
I guess it's sometimes hard for even bad teams to look bad when you have teams like the Cardinals in the league and run by people like Jonathan Gannon and Drew Petzing and whoever their terrible GM. It's not Montessori. It's some kind of thing like that.
Is it
Whoever
Monty
it is.
Austinfort?
Monty Austin. Yeah, but I am going to call him Montessori from now on because I
That's
like
right.
that's easier to remember. So yeah, him. They're all just terrible. Jonathan Gannon hitting Demercado, that's so ridiculous, and the people who are trying to rationalize it are just making fools of themselves. It's like
Yep.
that team would be crazy to not quit on Gannon. Can you imagine how insufferable it is to work for Gannon as it is? And then he's just like assaulting you and berating you. It's like, no. You are not Bill Parcells. You don't get to act this way. So they won't show up for the guy. He's a tool. He's terrible. He has no grounds to be acting the way that he does. And it's like if you're really blaming Demercado and getting that angry at him, for sure, yeah, he blew the game. Whatever.
Yeah.
You blow the game every week, Gannon.
Yeah.
What happens to you? What's your punishment? So yeah, this is not a serious matchup. The Cardinals stand no chance in my opinion, and I actually think it can get worse with Brissett because when Brissett was playing for like the Browns and maybe even the Colts, they built the offense sort of accounting for his limitations and trying to sort of hide him from them. The Cardinals offense is built with no plan at all. It has no substantive like theory behind itself, and its weak spots are profoundly weak. And I think a player like Brissett, he's going to do a reasonable job, and it's still going to look awful in my opinion if he's on the field.
Yes. And yeah, that's a really good point on this Cardinals offense being really directionless, really confusing. Like every week, it feels like they're just throwing crap at the wall. For people's fantasy interest, we have Michael Carter as a high end running back 3 this week. We have him at RB 27. We have Demercado at RB 34. Of course, that means that Bam Knight is going to score another touchdown.
I think it's a little high for me in both cases. Like I thought Carter cleared as a projected, running back 2 last week, but not with the kind of problems the Cardinals have. I don't think there's anything good happening there. It's going to be like Trey McBride has like 14 catches for 85 yards.
Yeah, that's pretty much the extent of it. And then the Colts, I feel like we know what's up at this point. You're obviously
They're
probably near
rolling.
near the top of your league if you have Tyler Warren or Jonathan Taylor, and I think Daniel Jones salary consideration pending, probably a good DFS play this week as well. Let's get on to a much better game. This one I'm actually pretty excited about. We got the Seahawks and the Jaguars in Jacksonville. Looks like we've kind of got the books are a little bit split on this one. At some places, the Seahawks are favored by 1.5, and at others, the Jaguars are home favorites. I think I lean more towards the Jags. Impressive win, obviously, on Monday night, whereas the Seahawks, battled with the Bucks. Frustrating loss for them. Amazing game for the fans, though. I mean, just like between the 73 points scored and the 2 best uniforms in football, like that was
Chiefs
delightful.
losing. Oh
That
man,
was also great. I mean, it
so
was a
good.
great week in football.
They were like, "Oh, it's a close game at the end. You all know what's going to happen." We're like, "Yeah, we know." And it's like, "Oh, well, actually, no, different ending this time. Cool." I do think I think this is a complicated one with two teams that are pretty complicated. Also, I do think the Jaguars are pretty much the real deal insofar as that defense is the real deal. And although they traded Tyson Campbell for Greg Newsome, that's a little weird.
Yeah, what did you make
It's
of
weird
that?
because they're both good players in my opinion. But I guess one
Mhm.
thing that's a little interesting is Newsome has a longer history of playing the slot. I don't think Campbell does at all. And anyway, the defense shouldn't change that much, despite removing a prominent player like Campbell. And the offense, I think, can still get better. The one thing, and I'm still, I'm still pretty much like a Lawrence truther. I know it. I know it seems insane at this point. Maybe it is, but particularly when the early season struggles for Lawrence were so often connected to Brian Thomas just kind of not showing up, not playing the way he should. I'm willing to kind of give them the second half of the season still, because like
Mhm.
it is a new scheme too. And in the case of Baker Mayfield playing under Liam Cohen last year, it was still largely like an extension of what Dave Canales started there. So it wasn't like a true fully reinstalled offense like it is in the case of the Jaguars this year. But I do think they're going to still have hiccups week to week on offense for the Jaguars, and especially when they can't get Travis Etienne going, because Travis Etienne is not a power runner even when he has his good games, but at least when he gives them big plays, he gets them into scoring range or close enough so quickly and often enough that it all works out in the end. But if a strong run defense cuts off those big plays from Etienne, I don't believe in the Jaguars' ability to grind through the defense as well as some other teams, like including like a team like the Panthers. Like they're always committed to grinding through with that power approach if it comes down to it, and they're prepared to take it to like that extent. If the Jaguars get in a situation where they need to tenderize the front seven and grind through the defense over the course of the game, they're just kind of toast, in my opinion. And in that scenario, Trevor Lawrence is ending up in a lot of difficult spots down and distance wise. I think this might be one of those games, not because the Seahawks defense is so infallible. I mean, it's not. It has some injuries too, but if Witherspoon is back, that would be pretty big. I don't know if Derek Hall might be up, but DeMarcus Lawrence might be back. And in the meantime, I think both Boye Mafe and Uchenna Nwosu's got a couple sacks already, but Boye Mafe is going to get like a 3-sack game one of these days. And I don't know, maybe not this game, but it's going to happen. And in any case, the Seahawks are prepared to run a power ground game between both Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. So I'm worried that in this game, basically, Trevor Lawrence ends up with measurably worse downs and distance situations than Sam Darnold. And I don't know. I guess I expect both defenses to make some plays in this one, and I just see more consistency from the Seahawks offense, given their ability to go to a power game if they need to do it.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on the defensive end of this game where I'm seeing a total at 47.5. I could see this one going under that.
Yeah, and I could see defenses forcing turnovers on both. Sam Darnold, I'm a little nervous about picking the Seahawks to win, not just because the Jaguars look good in general, but Sam Darnold's numbers, I think, are pretty clearly marked for regression. I mean, it's great that he started well, and he has like last week in particular was pretty convincing. It was pretty quality game. So I don't expect Darnold to have as clean of a touchdown to interception ratio or the completion percentage of the yards per attempt that he does. And some of that regression could very well occur in this game. I just think Lawrence is kind of in for a worse projection either way.
Yeah, I think so too. And yeah, the Jaguars, when it comes to the Darnold potential turnover regression, the Jaguars are turning the opponent over about as well as anyone in the league right now. Very opportunistic defense. That Devin Lloyd pick was.
I was
Oh,
wrong about him, I guess. Like I thought he was pretty trash last, basically until this year. But yeah, that was like the James Harrison play. That was crazy.
yes. Yeah, once he got out to the sideline and he he shook Mahomes, it's like, "Oh, baby." Like,
He's been awesome. He's actually probably the MVP of the Jaguars, even before that play.
It's amazing how he's turned it on. Was he like also like a late breakout in college too?
I don't think so. I remember there being criticisms of going into the draft with him, and then seemingly corroborated by his play in the NFL that he was kind of just he wasn't a natural run defender. Like he's all pursuit. He's like a guy who looks good chasing someone who has the ball or chasing a quarterback who's trying to get away from him but couldn't manage, the between the tackles traffic. Seems like he's figured out everything, and now it's like he's gotten to a place where he just looks all the time like he used to only look when he was in open pursuit.
And it's paying dividends. He looks awesome, and I think that's been a big part of this Jaguars kind of defensive resurgence this year. Let's stay in the Sunshine State. We got the Chargers going down to Miami to face the Dolphins. Dolphins 4.5-point dogs at home. I think the big fantasy angle from this one, of course, is going to be: is there a right answer for this Chargers backfield waiver wire situation? Because to me it reads similar to the Cardinals situation last week, where I didn't think either of them were going to end up being like the right answer. There will be one answer that is more correct than the other, but I'm not sure that either Vidal or Haskins end up being like much more than flex viable for these next few weeks. I think that's like the key part, very similar to Trey Benson going on IR, is, Hampton's going to be out for 4 more games. So we have some time. I would be surprised if we get through this 4 weeks when it's just Vidal and Haskins. I wouldn't be surprised if they call up Edwards or bring in a veteran free agent type of thing. But what is your read on this Chargers backfield for the next month or so?
I don't know. I guess if that Jets GM really is sandbagging Aaron Glenn and going into full tank mode, maybe the Jets trade Hall to the Chargers or something like that. But short of that, unless they're getting that level of a talent, I don't know if it's worth the time of the Chargers to go adding other players that outside of the in-house options, that is. And this is going to sound just kind of like, I don't know, some combination of like whiny coping and of course trutherism, but I'm still not out on Kamani Vidal. I think that even though John Harbaugh is definitely not one of my favorite coaches, even though Jim Harbaugh is one of my favorite coaches, though, I still think he's totally, he's a fallible person. I don't think he's going to get everything right. And if I must have to disagree with him, then I'll just disagree with him if he thinks that Hassan Haskins is better than Kamani Vidal. I think Hassan Haskins is awful, completely non-viable. I think Jim Harbaugh, one of the ways he's clearly most fallible is that he loves his Michigan guys, and he's I think pretty plainly unable to tell, or he hasn't been forced yet to look specifically at the fact that Hassan Haskins in the NFL is not Hassan Haskins at Michigan. Hassan Haskins in the NFL is a fullback, and even that he shouldn't be on the team. He's not useful. So if the Chargers try to make Hassan Haskins happen, it simply will not. And I'm optimistic that even if it comes down to that, as opposed to a scenario where they just give Vidal a fair shot right off the bat, I would prefer that scenario. But even if that's not the scenario, even if we need to see Hassan Haskins run for 30 yards on 15 carries first, I think Vidal, if the Chargers have no choice but to give him a shot, he will just start looking better than he did before, or like he'll just look good eventually. And the narrative will be like, oh, I guess he got better. And in my opinion, it would be more likely the case that no, this is just who he always was. There just wasn't a political impetus last year to give Vidal this shot. They had Haskins, the crony late season pickup, blocks it for much of the year. They got Edwards, Dobbins the first part. Vidal never proved himself bad. He never really got a shot to prove himself as anything in particular. And it's like this time around, they might not have any choice. And so I would definitely prefer to pick up Vidal. I tried to pick him up in NFFC, but someone bid a little bit more than me. So we'll see how that turns out. I would actually like to think that I should have bid more, because I do want Vidal to kind of prove that he's a good prospect here.
Yeah, I remember being pumped on Vidal coming out of college and everything, and I thought that last year there was going to be a good chance for him to carve out some semblance of a role. Obviously, he gets drafted over big time this year with Hampton, but Hampton being out, I'm with you on Haskins. Like I just don't think that he's a particularly convincing talent. I do think that for this week, the Dolphins are so bad against the run that like both of them
Yeah.
could end up being all right. But
I will say I don't think I really think Haskins is so bad he can't look good against any NFL defense. Like I think it's actually impossible. But by Vidal, if he actually gets like there might not be that much room to run because we do got to worry about that pass rush in general, and especially given the current state of the Chargers offensive line. So like if they end up in 2nd and 14, they might, because of a sack on first down, it's like that. There's scenarios where they might end up abandoning the run a little bit, but if Vidal actually gets decent setups with the ball and doesn't capitalize, I'll be wounded.
Yes, yeah, we'll be taking on damage. Our HP will be down at that point.
Yeah.
This is somewhat instructive for the listeners. So just reading off the Fab results from my NFFC team for my league. I did not get either of these guys. I was okay at running back, so I stayed out of it. But Hassan Haskins went for 79 out of $1,000 budget with a backup bid of 15, and Vidal 75. So the market was basically like, yeah, they're both worth about 8% or so of your free agent budget.
I just I checked mine. The person who previously drafted Jaden Blue dropped him for Haskins at 122. The runner-up was 121, so harrowing bidding matchup there. But Vidal went for 121, so that's Haskins 122, Vidal 121, and I bid next on Vidal at 65. So
it is funny how in both of those leagues, like they went in the same range. It's just a different range that we're talking about. The 120s for you, like the 70s for me. I am a proud Jake Tonjes haver after this week's waiver wire run. So exciting times for me, of course. I guess lastly, how much are we believing this Darren Waller stuff? Because it's been awesome.
I guess we got to keep an eye on his injury status every single week, but I don't know why it should stop otherwise. I do expect the hamstring to be a problem. I hate to say it, but like I feel like it's too good to be true that he would just stay healthy the whole year. So I'd love to be wrong. I actually have quite a bit of Darren Waller best ball exposure as a tight end 3, and I could really use the unexpected value there to continue. I just think I expect him to get hurt at some point, but until then, I don't know why much should change, because it's not just that Darren Waller could be pretty good in this role. He could, by the way, be still quite good. It's still tough to cover. It's that the Dolphins don't have another option, because this is the crutch version of the Tua Tagovailoa offense. We saw it last year with Jonnu Smith. It's like they weren't able to get the ball to their prime targets, who were at the time Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, because they were settling for the crutch, like the easier target of Jonnu Smith. And you could tell it's like, it's great for Jonnu Smith, and Jonnu Smith is doing a good job. But the fact that he was getting so many of those targets as opposed to Waddle or Hill showed that the passing game was not healthy. And it was in this like crutch limping form of itself. That's where they're right back to right now. And that's to Darren Waller's benefit.
Yes. I have Waller on a Best Ball Mania team, and I got him because I timed out, and he was at the top of, not even the top of my queue, just the top of the player rankings
for like the 2023 rankings that were
it's like, okay, thank you, I guess, so that's kind of helping that team out a little bit, but otherwise I think we have that one buttoned up. I guess one more question on the Chargers, because they've obviously dropped a couple games in a row. I still have a lot of confidence in this team. We need to see Joe Alt get back there and Amari and Hampton. Like, they are taking on some damage injury-wise, but I still think that this is a Chargers team by the time that we get to playoff time is going to be, something to be reckoned with.
Yeah, they got to get a little healthier, and I am worried in this. I think the Chargers will win, but it might come down to like Herbert doing a last-second game-winning drive kind of thing, or Cameron Dicker making a last-second game-winning field goal, because that offensive line is just awful without Alt and Slater, and Bozeman and Becton have both been had their difficulties too. I guess at least
Bozeman might be getting benched, I want to say.
Oh my God, that's nice work, everybody. Is what year is it? Is Tom Telefo the GM again? Anyway, I think it's a legitimately dangerous matchup for the Chargers because Bradley Chubb, Jalen Phillips, Chop Robinson, Zach Sealer is not a joke. The Miami run defense is a joke, but their pass rush actually might be one of the better ones, especially by the end of the year as Phillips and Chubb get healthier, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. So that is something to. I'm probably like staying away from that one
Ugly
when
game. Ugly
when we
game.
do our betting video with myself and Nick later. That might be circled as a stay away for me. It's too weird. Too weird. Let's go Browns Steelers. Steelers 5.5 point favorites in this one. The Browns coming back from London, whereas the Steelers are coming off the bye. Should have Jalen Warren ready to go once again. We saw Kenneth Gainwell have the huge game in Warren's absence in week 4. The Browns, meanwhile, obviously have turned the page to Dylan Gabriel. I thought he comported himself totally fine against a Vikings defense in a weird environment. Like I really had pretty low expectations for him. I thought that he very much like gave the Browns a chance to win. I do think it seems like there is either it's his own kind of tendencies or just the way that the offense is structured around his skill set where the tight ends are going to be very involved, Fannin and Njoku. But like if you're a Jerry Jeudy guy, I feel like things are a little bit tough to stomach right now.
Yeah, Jeudy kind of screwed up the few good opportunities he got to this point, and now the opportunities might not be as good from this point. Didn't capitalize on the window, and it might be closing now. It's pretty brutal. I kind of hope the Browns just trade Jeudy or something because there's barely a need for. There's almost no wide receiver one need in this offense. It's so stripped down, and jumbo theory that it's like, hell, if we're running for as much as we mean to, and if our tight ends are as productive as we mean to make them, maybe Tillman's gonna do fine as a wide receiver one. I don't know. But anyway, I think this is a tough spot for Gabriel. Not to be, totally obnoxiously obvious, but going to Pittsburgh's kind of like going to hell if you're a rookie quarterback, especially playing for another AFC North team. Like it's not going to be a fun experience for Gabriel, in my opinion. And the Steelers defense should finish the year much stronger than they started it, if only because getting, I guess I should have brought up their injury page to make sure there's nothing that I missed, but they played the first 3 or 4 games or whatever without Derek Harmon, who, in my opinion, is a really good prospect. Like I wouldn't be shocked if Derek Harmon turned out to be like a Richard Seymour kind of player in the NFL. That would not shock me. And if Harmon is anywhere near good at all, having him next to Benton and Hayward makes that 3-down lineman loadout just so brutally tough. The corners, meanwhile, adding Jalen Ramsey, Darius Slay, those guys, those moving pieces, I think probably started the year worse than they're going to finish it. I expect this defense to look pretty good, if not very good, pretty soon, if not this specific game. So
Yeah.
Kinshawn Judkins is such a monster that you just kind of assume he'll find some way to get to like 75 yards or whatever, but I don't know if anything else is happening for the Browns here.
Yeah, I don't either. And again, the receiver issue is compounded by the fact I believe Tillman is like still on IR, I want to say. So like we got some like Isaiah Bond going on.
Yeah, Isaiah Bond is they're gonna hit him. They're gonna hit him really hard.
Yes. And I feel like you sum it up well where like the Steelers defense was like oddly bad to start the year. This is a good get right spot, especially with the rest advantage being as significant as it is. So I think I like the Steelers here too. Let's get on over to Patriots Saints. Oh, I have a feeling that the Patriots are back. I thought we were rid of them, but Drake May is awesome.
Yeah, Drake May is really good, and it's almost like it's a good sign for May that he looked as good as he did against the Bills and got them the win without scoring any touchdowns. It's like bad for fantasy that he didn't get those touchdowns, but it's in a way good because you can sort of expect there to be more touchdown luck in the future, and he didn't even maybe need any more, as it were. So May is looking pretty much like we hoped he would. I still don't know what to. I mean, I guess we can call it like game on with Stephon Diggs at this point. I didn't know what was going on with him to open the year because he wasn't playing many snaps. He played like 28, 30 snaps in a game, and he looked pretty good on those snaps, but not so good that you were like, wow, it's Stephon Diggs. It was more like, hey, he's doing pretty good, and he's only playing 30 snaps. That's weird, but he's doing pretty good. Well, the last 2 weeks, he's still playing a limited snap count, but in which I think is still an ongoing, budgeting. It's like a budgeting thing for him coming back from the torn ACL, where they don't want him to play more than X number of snaps before, this week or whatever. So
yeah,
the snap count cap limits May to some categorical extent. And the last 2 weeks, though, it hasn't limited May that much because Stephon Diggs went nuts from an efficiency standpoint. Like those first 3 games, Diggs was totally decent, but now in the last 2, over 61 snaps, which a lot of receivers play in 1 week, like 61 snaps is not very many for a 2-week span. But on 61 snaps, he's drawn 19 targets. That's a lot. And he's caught 16 of those 19 targets for 247 yards. That's also a lot. So if Diggs regresses this week to, only 2 yards per route run as opposed to 6 where he's been the last 2 weeks, it would bring May's numbers down too, categorically, unless Diggs played more snaps than 30 or so. And I don't know if that's going to change here, especially against a team. These 2 weeks here, even though they're on the road, Saints, Titans. It's like if Diggs is going to get unleashed as like a 50, 60 snap receiver this year, I highly doubt it'll be for either of these 2 opponents. Like, nor should it be. It's probably like a late season playoff push kind of thing. So I could imagine this game being a little closer than people expect, just because that Diggs insane firepower from the last 2 weeks, I am not banking on being in this game. But what I am optimistic for is the Patriots running game getting going a bit again. And I know this is going to drive people crazy, and like Ramondre Stevenson does need to stop fumbling. Like, it's actually like he needs to stop doing it at this point. But because of the Antonio Gibson injury, I saw people who don't know anything about football, but for some reason follow it, were freaking out about that Mike Vrabel quote about like, well, I hope he stops. We got to get him to stop fumbling because we need his skill set. And people are going, you took Travion Henderson in the 2nd round. What do you mean you need Ramondre Stevenson's skill set? Yeah, man, just take any running back and give them 30 carries a week. See how that goes. Just give Travion. Hey, Ohio State, do you know what happens when you give Travion Henderson 20 carries a game? Do you maybe remember, did he break his foot and have some other injury the other year where he missed 6 games? Is that something we already know happened? Well, if you don't follow football, you might not know that kind of stuff, and you might just think a 200-pound back is the same as a 230-pound back, and you might think things like, sure, just give Travion Henderson 40 carries. I don't understand why not. That kind
Draft
of stuff
capital
apparently populates the word cloud of our collective unconscious or whatever. It's really annoying, but they're just going to have to deal with it. Like, Henderson is not a workhorse back. Get over it. Adjust how you must. But Stevenson's going to get carries in this game, and it actually it'll make people really mad, but it would help me if Stevenson has a good game here, and I think he probably will.
Yeah, I like that. Like it's very like, yeah, I think you can reflexively be like, Stevenson, like, what the heck with all these fumbles, but I think it says a lot that Vrabel just continues to stick with him. Like, he fumbled last week, and we didn't see the Travion Henderson game, and we've seen him fumble previously this year, and it still hasn't necessarily like unlocked the usage for Henderson. So I think, I mean, if you bought at the top,
they're short on options. Like if Travion Henderson weighed 230 pounds, Vrabel wouldn't have stuck by Stevenson the way that he has, but it's like they do need Stevenson, especially with Gibson hurt. And it's one of those things too. It's like, as bad as Stevenson has been protecting the ball, and by the way, he's been really bad. 10 fumbles on his last 730 snaps or something like that. Totally unacceptable. But on the prior 1,300 snaps or so, he had only 7 fumbles. And if he goes another 1,300 snaps from this point with only 7 fumbles, the Patriots want him on the field for that stretch. And I know that seems like a weird way to frame things, but sometimes the numbers are weird in sports and football, and you just got to be on the you have to put yourself in position to be lucky. And if the Patriots don't benefit if Stevenson has a 1,300 snap stretch with only 7 fumbles and it's for another team, the Patriots will just look like idiots.
Yeah, the numbers are mysterious and scary, but
Just too many
nonetheless.
of them.
Yeah, weird spread. Only 3.5. I thought that would be a lot higher in favor of the Patriots. So that's a weird one to me. Any Saints insights before you get on to the next game?
If you're starting guys like Olave and Rashid Shaheed, it's probably just because you paid the amount that dictates that, and no reason to change there. I don't know what to make of the backfield. It does seem like Kamara's kind of not capitalizing a whole lot on the year, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's just kind of like I don't know. The Saints offense might not run very well this year. It might just be Rattler doing the dink and dunk thing until Taysom Hill saves them this week.
Do love me some Taysom Hill. We got Titans Raiders next. Oy.
Well, you don't need to spend long on that one.
That's Cam Ward, did he arrive?
No,
Hello?
I don't think so. I mean,
Okay.
I believe it or not, I don't think Ward is like bad. I know it's been incredibly bad. I'm still giving him kind of like a free pass because of how just poorly managed the Titans are.
Okay.
I wouldn't expect a quarterback to be particularly successful with a coach that I don't find good at all in Callahan, and a team that's still run by people who are bad at managing the team. But I actually think this is kind of a tough matchup against the Raiders, or at least given how vulnerable the Titans have appeared to be. I would worry about a team like the Titans going against even a Raiders defense, just because Max Crosby, I guess. And I still think Malcolm Kuntz will probably get going a little bit, but the Titans don't look like a serious NFL. Like if there were relegation in the NFL, a team like the Titans would be a no-brainer. It's just like, this is crap. Get out of here.
Crap. Yeah, it's really bad. I think that last week said a lot more about the Cardinals than it did the Titans necessarily. But the Raiders, God, their turnover issues are just preposterous at this point. I don't really know what to do about it. I'm worried about Geno. The Bowers situation seems to, we're probably another week away. It feels like right now. Michael Mayer obviously missed the game last week too. So I
think Genty goes nuts in this one though.
Yes.
I don't think I know Geno in general is vulnerable, but I don't know if this would be one such game where they even need to expose him a whole lot.
Yeah, so this could be the week where the Raiders offense kind of gets right, at least for one instance. I do like the Raiders in this spot against the number -3.5. Much better game here. We got the Niners and the Buccaneers. Bucks 3-point favorites at home, coming off the crazy win. The Niners, they are beat up as hell, but they keep winning. It is impressive, and it is funny how it sort of pushes our agendas, even though we were never like really Mac Jones guys. But like the offense looks good with him, and it looks
quarterbacks don't matter.
Yeah,
there is a clear righteous agenda, a blessed by God agenda, which is that quarterbacks don't matter. There's 4 quarterbacks exactly that matter, and none of the rest do.
And among the rest is Purdy. So Jones, he's kind of like speed run the career path of like Mayfield or Darnold. He hasn't gotten to that final form yet where he takes over as the starter and gets him to the playoffs or anything, but has a great rookie year relatively speaking, and then it's just persona non grata in New England for like the following 2 years. He ends up in Jacksonville last year, kind of shows something towards the end of the year last year, and then obviously this year he's got the Niners who are totally shorthanded. Again, with no Kittle, doesn't look like we're going to have Pearsall or Jennings available yet again. He's just able to operate this offense. And it is kind of like a funny, weird, roundabout dynamic where it's like, he was allegedly like gonna be their guy back in 2021. And obviously they went with Trey Lance, but now he's there and he's with Kyle Shanahan and seems to be working. Your thoughts on this Niners offense going up against the Bucks defense?
I really don't know how they're supposed to make it happen exactly, but I have seen enough times by now that with Shanahan that I need to accept that like he'll probably figure something out. It
Yeah.
doesn't make sense to me how a guy like Kendrick Bourne can have a game like last week, but apparently that is something that can just be dictated by Shanahan's scheming and play calling. And not to take all the credit away from Kendrick Bourne, but I'm sorry, I don't think he's very good. Like he's definitely not an explosive player. So that kind of yardage last week was explosive. And it's one of those things like, well, hell, if Kendrick Bourne can do it, I guess Demarcus Robinson could probably do it too. Like if we go chasing Kendrick Bourne's numbers in week 6, it wouldn't surprise me if Robinson kind of stole it for just totally, anecdotal reasons that were random. Like the coverage, the way that the Buccaneers rolled the coverage, and the way that the instructions that Shanahan gave Jones about if they do this before the snap, the play goes to this instead, like that kind of stuff. It might be the difference between a big game for Bourne and one where he falls back down to where he's normally been in the NFL. So if Demarcus Robinson has a big game, if Tonjes has a big game, if I guess we can't just keep going down this. I'm not going to say that about like Sky Moore and Marquez Valdes-Scantling. I think that's where we cut it off. But like somebody here will do something, or the 49ers just won't be competitive.
Do you believe that they will do something, or is this a game where the Bucs kind of
like
flex?
I think Robinson, McCaffrey, the 49ers need their defense to show up, though. That's definitely completely clear. And I don't know. Like Baker Mayfield's done a great job, of course, but I wouldn't be shocked if it's just kind of like both offenses suffer in this one. I got it really quickly, mostly unrelated, but Todd Bowles needs more credit, especially with how the offensive coordinator gets poached each year and the offense doesn't even change. Like that's normally what you would worry about with a defensive minded coach like Bowles. It's like you'd think like, oh, he needs the coordinator to carry him, and now he doesn't have it. It's like, well, apparently that's not it. And he keeps them kind of just gnarly in weekly. They're very scrappy as a team. They overachieve regularly, and Todd Bowles definitely deserves credit for that he's not really getting, in my opinion.
100%. Yeah, I feel like none of the credit goes his way. It always just goes to
like
Baker
Mayfield now. He's the coach. Yeah.
He's Mr. Buck. I mean, he's having some fun out there on social media and all that, and I'm very jealous of his Popeyes sponsorship. I'd like to be sponsored by Popeyes. It's one of the goats. But beyond that, when it comes to this Buccaneers group of pass catchers, again, it's banged up. But I don't think we're going to see Bucky Irving out of the backfield. So I think it's another Rashad White game. But Mike Evans, don't think we can expect him. Was a little bit concerned. We got a little fibula issue for Chris Godwin.
I don't like that. I can't claim to have any idea what it actually means, but I don't want to think about it either. It can't be good. It can't be.
So yeah, that's going to be one that you hope you see a full participant status next to him by Friday. Otherwise, you might be kind of scrambling for receiver.
What does that
options.
even mean? Fibula, isn't that just kind of
I'm
like
guessing
it's
you got
fine
like
or it's
cleated hard in
snapped?
the leg or something?
So it's like a contusion. Yeah, man. I wish they hadn't. I'd like them to say shin or something, because saying the name of the one twiggy bone in the leg, it's like, did it blow up? What do you mean the fibula? Like, it's fine, right? Anyway, hopefully it is.
It better be. But yeah, excited for that one in the afternoon window. We got one more in the afternoon. Then we got a couple of primetime games to hit, a trio of primetime games. Bengals Packers. Is Joe Flacco the savior?
For covering 15 points, maybe. Or is Browning still going to play this week? I don't know what.
No, it's gonna be Flacco.
All right. We just got to get that 15, boys. We just lose by less than 16 points, and we'll call it a Super Bowl win in 2025 because we're the Bengals. I don't know. I guess Browning has been so bad, you sort of default assume the next guy could be better, but I don't know. Flacco's struggles in Cleveland were bad enough that I can't blame it all on the team around him. So it might just kind of be more of the same for all I know, just with more sacks, I guess, than in Browning's. I don't know. I'd like to think Flacco will improve because I want my Jamar Chase shares to get a bit of a boost here, and it's sure as hell not happening with Browning.
No, Browning, whatever the heck that was in 2023, that guy's not here anymore. You could probably make the same case for Flacco, to be honest, when he got the Browns into the playoffs. But
why didn't they trade for Kirk Cousins? Like, there's just anybody even.
Apparently, there's a monetary thing with the Bengals where they don't believe in it, or they don't believe in having it or spending it. So.
They don't want to pay Cousins. That actually makes a lot of sense. But man,
Jameis, I feel like would have been
great. That would have been perfect. It's like, yeah, you still suck, but at least
it's fun.
The ball's traveling in the air a little bit every once in a while.
I think our guy Jerry had a great stat in his article about Jerry Jeudy's like non-Jameis starts over the last 20 games or something, and like he's like not even gotten to 10 points and with any quarterback other than Jameis Winston. So
5,000 30-30.
Goat season. So Jameis is the kingmaker. Bengals make the call, but in the short term,
grow up, Mike Brown. Trade for Jameis Winston. Stop being childish.
Do it. The Packers, I don't really have a ton to say. They're off the bye, should be healthier, should be fresher.
Good for them. Into this They'll win by a bunch. Yeah, it would be nice to see Golden get going. I know. I know Romeo Doubs did a good job, and I expect him to continue doing a good job. But I just hate this LaFleur thing where he's like, "Oh, you like that? You like that big play by Tucker Kraft there? Well, he's mine. You can't have him again. I'm not going to throw him the ball for 6 quarters now. Like, just how about we just get the best players the ball and see how far we can go."
He's just gung ho on being the brain genius at all times. It seems like, and the burden falls on us fantasy guys, of course. But the good Packers guys. Obviously going to be in good. Yeah, we are. Packers going to be in good shape here, of course. Before we get on to the night games, a couple more ads for y'all. First one from Mega Sports Progressive. Elevate your game with the Ultimate Sports Contest. Mega Sports Progressive. Dive into a world of excitement with 3 progressive jackpots and a chance to win big every week and every month. We're rewarding 1,500 lucky winners, distributing over $50,000 in monthly prizes. All you do is answer 15 daily sports props. Add up your correct responses for the week's cash prize and tally the week's totals for huge monthly cash rewards. Mega Sports Pro makes it fun and easy to join. This is a thrilling opportunity to be a part of our growing community of sports enthusiasts. Sign up today and unlock to win big every day, every week, every month. Sign up is free, no commitments, no credit cards. Your first 9 days of play are free. Visit megasportspro.com today. I also got a message from our friends at Chalkboard. Cash in on your NFL picks this season with Chalkboard. Simply choose more or less on your favorite player stats to win up to 5,000 times your money. For a limited time only, new players get $20 free with no deposit required. Yes, you heard that right. $20 free just on sign up. See why over 1 million fans have already locked in with Chalkboard to turn their sports knowledge into cold hard cash. Whether you're locking in the perfect slip with alternate lines, using the cash out feature to take your money and run, or hammering the daily promos, today is your chance to win up to 40 grand on a single entry. Stop sitting on the sidelines and get into the game with Chalkboard Fantasy Sports, now available in 30 plus states. Download Chalkboard today and use the promo code ROTONFL, that's ROTONFL, to get $20 free with no deposit required. Onward, we've got the Chiefs and the Lions. Sunday Night Football. This one's a banger. I'm excited for this one. Chiefs obviously coming off a tough loss with some uncharacteristic late game getting out foxed type of stuff that usually they are the beneficiaries of. The Lions, meanwhile, they're basically coming off a bye week, having played against the Bengals last week. So we got the Chiefs looking at a 1.5 point favorite in favor of KC.
Yeah, tough one to pick in my opinion, because the Lions are the better team pretty clearly, I think. But there is a bit of a curse to the visitors of Arrowhead Stadium, and even if the team around Patrick Mahomes is not as good as it used to be, I think Mahomes is still the guy. Like I still rank Mahomes as the best quarterback in the NFL.
Sure.
If I don't know what to make. As the Chiefs, you're probably not running the ball on this one. No one really runs against the Lions. And if you do run against the Lions, you probably got to go off tackle. You're probably not running up the middle. And I don't think the Chiefs can turn the corner. Kareem Hunt can't turn the corner, at least. So I think it's going to have to be a low scoring game for the Chiefs to win. I just kind of think it might be a low scoring game. There's definitely going to be urgency on the part of the Chiefs. The Lions, Dan Campbell is the exact kind of coach to make a team have as consistent of a focused week by week approach as possible. But I don't know if it's like fair to human nature to expect the Lions players to actually be as, focused and urgent as the Chiefs will be in this one. So, Mahomes has to win it. Mahomes and the defense have to win it for the Chiefs. Their running game won't. I kind of think that Mahomes has a pretty good game here. I'm not very convinced of this Detroit secondary, especially the corners, that is. And if Aiden Hutchinson can't sort of single-handedly deny the quarterback their drop back time, those corners are in a lot of trouble. And I think the Chiefs take this somehow.
Okay. I thought Hollywood Brown looked good last week. I thought Xavier Worthy looked really good against the Ravens in particular. Kelsey is still, a steadying presence. But yeah, the Chiefs really can't run the ball. And Kareem Hunt's existence bothers me. I can't believe
Andy
he's still
Reid,
just getting
so
touchdowns.
bad at judging talent. I hate it. But also real quick credit to Tyquan Thornton, who's I don't know, they can't really give him more snaps, but he's been so good in his specialist role this year.
Yeah, it's been cool to see him, kind of resurrect his career. But with them getting closer to full strength, I think the window is probably starting to close on Thornton's utility
Yeah.
for fantasy right now. But I'd still try to stash him if at all possible. He wouldn't be the first guy I'm trying to cut on my bench necessarily, because I think maybe another injury crops up or something, and all of a
He might
sudden
be better than
he's useful
Brown.
again.
Like, that might be something they need to think about in the upcoming weeks.
It's an interesting thought. So ultimately, you're on the Chiefs here. I think that's hard to argue against. I think the Lions have been the better team this year. I know historically,
Yeah.
obviously the Chiefs got the edge there, but I'm gonna go with the Lions here. I don't feel amazing about it. I think I might just take them against the
I
spread.
hope the
but
Lions win. Dan Campbell, like I'm now that the Harbaugh, the Jim Harbaugh option has fallen off, I'm like, I need the Lions to be the Super Bowl team, and the
yeah,
Ravens, of course, looking like crap is the other prior reading there.
yeah, Ravens are in a deep doo-doo right now. Moving on, we got Monday night doubleheader. Got the Bills and Falcons leading us off. Another sort of surprising line with the Bills only favored by 4.5. I think the Bills
Over.
over under in this one, 49.5. The Bills, I think they can be criticized for operating more like an NBA team than anyone else, in the sense that they have the confusing there's no way they should lose this game losses of the elite teams in the NFL every year. It feels like that they'll take their eye off the ball, and it's crazy to take your eye off the ball on Sunday Night Football against a divisional opponent. But that's kind of what it felt like Sunday night in Buffalo. The Falcons, I know they're coming off the bye, but I feel like this is probably a smash spot for the Bills.
Yeah, I definitely like the Bills to win. The reason I say over more than I say Bills cover, though, is just that I could see Bijan Robinson having a pretty big game here. And if the Bills defense gets tenderized a bit, then they definitely have to worry about a guy like Tyler Algier too. I definitely think, though, that if the run game is somehow stopped by the Buffalo run defense, then Michael Penix he's in it deep at that point. I don't think Zach Robinson and Michael Penix as a passing combo can work very well against McDermott's defense. I think McDermott's just basically too good of a defensive coach for a coach like Zach Robinson to not kind of be a step behind consistently in the scheming. But I don't have that much faith in the Buffalo run defense. So if Robinson and Algier go, the Falcons should keep scoring points, and thus make it a little harder for the Bills to get that safe, backdoor proof 2-score lead. But I think the Bills keep control in this one way or another.
Yeah, I think like James Cook bounces back. I think that they're not going to be held to 20 points or whatever it was again. I know the Falcons
I think
have
it could
like,
be a big Shakir game, probably another. Well, I don't know. I'd say Kincaid and Shakir, but there's a little bit of a zero sum thing between them. Uh, Josh Palmer, if they give him 25 snaps, should be able to do something. That's Joe Brady. I think is a great offensive coordinator, but they definitely in games that matter, like last week's, they shouldn't be doing that stuff where it's like Tyrell Shavers gets 15 snaps, Curtis Samuel gets 15 snaps. Like, no, you gotta. This is where you got to get your playmakers the ball. You got to tie up the game, is in account for it fully, zip it up, make it a non-issue, and then screw around.
I don't mean to like disagree with you on the Brady front at all. I do think he's really good, but is there an actual offense that they're running in the second halves of games, or is it just all right, Josh, drop back, buy some time, and figure it out? It feels like that's what the Bills' offense becomes like late in games.
If it looks that way, I think it's kind of a combination of the offensive line blocking so well that it seems like Allen kind of has a lot of time to consider options,
He
and I
does.
think that is the thing that's happening. And it's a reason why I think they normally are so dominant. But yeah, any passing game can kind of hit a rough spot, and when an offense basically is like, this player needs to bail us out, whatever goes wrong, sometimes that player is fallible and can't single-handedly make everything better. And in a game like this, though, if it comes down to it, I think it will work. I think the Bills' offense is still very clearly going to finish the year as a top 3-1, and I think a loss like last week is more just the kind of thing that happens for no reason at all than something that is meaningful. It's just like there are no 18-0 teams anymore, you know.
Right. And Drake May just snatched his chain, man. It's over for Josh Allen.
Sometimes you run into a buzzsaw.
That's right, folks. Ending it out. We've got Caleb Williams and the Bears going to Washington to face the Commanders. Commanders obviously looked really good last week, going out to LA and beating the Chargers pretty handily in that spot. Still not totally sure on what's up with Terry McLaurin, so it might be a little bit shorthanded in the passing game. Will the Commanders, whereas the Bears, they are coming off the bye, should be rested and ready to go in this spot. Caleb Williams also a little homecoming for him being a DC native.
I guess that's a little interesting. Yeah, I still don't know what to make of the Bears in general, both on offense and on defense, if only because of some injuries on the defensive side. But I feel like with Washington being the more convincing run game of the two, they should be fine. Like whatever anecdotal ways this game might fluctuate, the run game constant means a lot in any matchup, and Washington has that. Chicago doesn't. Uh, just the same, I don't exactly want to say the Bears can't win because they have a lot more firepower on hand in the passing game. And if they somehow make the game a high
Yeah.
scoring one, then Jaden Daniels is in a difficult spot because his wide receiver 1 is Deebo Samuel and his wide receiver 2 is like Luke McCaffrey or something. And
Yep.
then in the case of the Bears, like our wide receiver 2 is DJ Moore. Our wide receiver 3 is like Zacchaeus and Luther Burden. So it's there's a chance that it could go wrong for Washington. I think it's just like the possibility of the game going wrong for Washington increases the cuter they get about the run game, the more they try to make cool passing plays happen. Like, this isn't the week. Just take the easy yardage.
Do we feel like good about you're mentioning the Washington run game, so you do feel good about it in this spot?
Yeah, I assume they're gonna keep going with Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. I guess, to be fair to Washington, against the Falcons, they gave Rodriguez the earlier shot, but then as soon as he had that 50-yard carry, they haven't let him play since then. It's almost like they were like, "Oh, we don't want this complicating our agenda. This guy's gonna get people are gonna ask for him to get playing time if we keep giving him carries, and he keeps doing so well with them." And Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt against the Chargers, and also to be fair to Kingsbury, against the Chargers specifically, it seemed like they were trying to get things going more off tackle than between the tackles, which makes enough sense because between the tackles there's Jamari Caldwell and Tier Tate. But if Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt keeps fumbling, that's another way he could kind of complicate things.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's still possible that they go a little bit more toward Rodriguez when they're thinking power. I just don't think this offense has a whole lot of power setups either. It's like which I think could hurt them in the long run. But if they're committed to it, they're committed to it. And the more they are, the better it is for Krosky Merritt, the worse it is for Rodriguez.
Yeah, I think
But I guess we can't rule out McNichols either. Like McNichols has always done well too. I don't know how they say these guys don't get to play when they only do well, but it's like all three have done well.
Yeah, the Eckler injury, like he's irreplaceable, like in that role, like whatever role they were envisioning for Eckler, like that McNichols is the closest thing to it, but I still don't think that like any of these guys can function the same way that Eckler could. So, yeah, it's kind of changed how that backfield rotation looks, and does it? Krosky Merritt had the huge game last week. Feel good about starting him where I have him at this point. I'm
Yeah,
not
definitely.
expecting
The
games
Bears'
like
run defense is probably not great.
no, I don't think so. Not over the moon about their linebackers or defensive front really. Their defense TBD. But I think Washington wins that one. I think I probably like the Bears to cover the 4.5 though. That's kind of a tricky number for Washington in that spot. You got to win by close to a touchdown at that point. But that's going to do it for us here on this edition of the RotoWire Fantasy Football Podcast. Make sure you're tuning in all week. We got podcasts coming out every single day. The Friday edition, get you ready for the DFS slate. Usually it's Ryan Belangi and Scott Genstead. I know our guy Mo has been jumping in lately, but either way, those guys have been awesome. They're crushing it. So that's a must listen if you do play DFS. Really actionable advice over there. But that's going to do it for us here on this edition. For Mario Puig, I'm John McKechnie. Thanks for listening.